I think you'll see me better without that on.
Hi, Cynthia. I had to
Hi.
go to the dentist on Wednesday.
Okay, we missed you. Okay, will you make sure and mute your mic?
Yeah, I'll mute it.
Great, thanks. See you soon. Take a big deep breath, let it go, and begin to arrive into your practice. And if you just close your eyes and narrow down your throat, you'll begin to bring your attention right here, right now, to this place, to your being. And you just take a moment to check in. And when I say a moment, I probably mean more like a minute. We talked a little bit the other day about how important it is to arrive to your asana. Asana means to take your seat, emphasis on your. So sometimes that takes a few moments. I know when I first take my seat in the morning in my own practice, sometimes I have to roll my ribs around and stretch my arms around, maybe even stick out my tongue and stretch my jaw. But you're alone now in your space, so you can do whatever you need to do to get comfortable, to get some of the stickiness out, and to arrive into a place that feels fairly comfortable. And as you continue to breathe that Ujjayi breath, Ujjayi means victorious. I'm not sure exactly what that refers to, but I always think it just means that we're alive. And that's the victory, that this body has processes that happen each moment of our lives that we don't have to control or even be a part of in our conscious mind. And that's sort of a victory. And we arrive into this place where we hear the breath and let it soothe us and bring us into our center. So you can actually watch the breath moving up through a central channel of your body, bringing your mind and focus to that center. And sometimes I even have to do a little shimmy, a little to find the center because it feels a little off center to me. So you just do whatever it takes to find your seat. Remembering that asana is at the end of the name of every pose. So every pose we take this time to find what's comfortable for us. And that's why I love to move so slowly in yoga. Why I think the practice at its best gives us time to really feel and see and breathe. Feeling those sitting bones sitting on earth or block or blanket. Letting them be heavy and rooted. Letting the lumbar spine move gently in and up. And the sternum move gently in and down until those two meet in the middle, somewhere just around the belly button. Beautiful. So this week we've been thinking about the unknown, the places behind ourselves. We're trying to bring more sensation, more awareness, more action, and more softness into the back body. And we're working with back bends and strengthening and opening that back body. So most of what we're doing today is to accomplish that. On your next inhale, take your arms out to the side like a big T. And instead of having your hands get hard, I want you to let your hands drape. So just like let them go so that you're stretching from center of your heart through the upper arm bones, through the elbows, through the forearms, through the wrists, and then extend your hands softly. So here's a fun little thing to try. If I just said extend your hands, you might just go for this really extreme stretch through the hands and all your attention would go to your hands. But if you relax your hands and let them just fall, drape down, let your attention go more towards what is internal first That's where we want the stretch to go, from the inside of the body. And then it grows. It grows through shoulders, through upper arms, through elbows, through forearms, through wrists, and then softly extend your hands so that you get a sense of the body from center to fingertips. But it's not just the fingertips that we know. Just like the back body, we often can only feel what we can see. So now just keeping the hands just like that, the arms just like that, start to send your attention backwards and see if you can get more sensation up the back of the body. From here, we inhale and bring our arms up overhead, and we'll try that same thing to just boop, flop your hands down. And let the awareness grow from the back of your body up through shoulders, upper arms, elbows, forearms, wrists, and then very gently just stack your hands on top of that so that you have awareness of the whole self growing, all the things that you cannot see in your body, creating this beautiful full body awareness. Couple more breaths here. We interlace our fingers here. We turn the palms to the sky. Emphasis on the thumb pointer finger side of the hand. So if you can soften your elbows, you'll get a little more rotation in your hands there. And I think you'll also feel a little bit where the roots of your arm bones are. So see if you can feel where the roots of your arm bones are. And then breathe into back body as if to inflate it. And then start to extend from the roots of your arms all the way up through your hands. Bring the sides of the throat back in line with your heart, back in line with your tummy. Breathe into that, bringing the ribs down and in. And then release that all the way down. It's amazing how much work we can do with such simple actions. Let your hands come into prayer. And into those openings that you've just created in your body, insert an offering to something that's unknown for you or scary or fearful. And just make that the offering for your practice today. And we inhale back up to sitting. We'll seal that with a breath and an om. Inhaling. Take a moment to feel that om, how it resonates in your tissues or how it doesn't resonate in your tissues. That we want to even be open to the sounds that are resonating in our bodies. And release your hands and open your eyes. Grab your blankie. So we're doing our core work from our backs, from our burrito roll. And I want to emphasize that the burrito roll should not hurt your back. So you want to find places where it can sit, where it doesn't. It's usually when it's too low down the back that we feel the pain. So we want this burrito roll to be right under the bottom tips of the shoulder blades. I'm going to take my block and I'm going to place it at the medium level to start with. Some of you maybe even need to have it at the highest level. If you don't have a block, you could use something else like a paper towel roll or a book or another blanket. But I'm going to come on back and I'm going to just roll side to side until I feel those very bottom tips of the shoulder blades in the very center of the roll. I know I'm in the right place because the underside of my arms, where my triceps are, just gently adheres to the upper side of the roll. So there's not really much space between, but neither are my triceps sitting on the roll. They're on the floor, but there's no gap between the upper arm bones and the burrito roll. So neither are good to have your upper arm bones on the roll or to be too gapped. And you can have your feet as wide as the sticky mat and the knees dropped in, or if it's a little bit more accessible to you or less, or you like that, you can take your legs out long. And you just take a moment to close down your eyes and to find your Ujjayi breath. And I want you to give your mind's eye over to the back side of your body, to that which rests on something. So see if you can take your focus off your front body and just give more to sensation. And if you feel like you're holding a lot of tension in your arms, take your arms wider towards T. Like I start often with goalpost arms and I realize I'm kind of holding them there. So I have to take them a little bit wider. And if you start to feel like this is getting too easy, I guess would be an okay word, then you take that block and you place it on the flatter side. You just don't want the chin to pop up too much. So there might even be a place that's in between. You could interlace your hands behind your head there if you needed a place somewhere between middle size block and lower size block. But as you're lying here, I want you to feel your front ribs. So they have a tendency, because we are a performance or front body people, I don't know if that makes sense to you, but we like the ta-da, the presentation of ourself. I want you to soften that. So bring the front ribs in and down. So they're not just poking out like, here I am. Now that doesn't mean that that's true for everybody. Some people might have the opposite, where you feel like that's really sunken in and you're appreciating the uplift of the front of the ribs. But in general, we want those front ribs to draw together and down towards the belly. And the flesh of the pubic bone draws up to meet it without losing the lumbar curve. And you might notice a little transverse abdominis, the lower part of the abdominals engaging here. Now this is where we're going to do our core work. So on the next inhale, we're going to take those ideas as we bring the hands behind the head. And the first thing I want you to do is rest your head back into your hands. So this is really, really important, because once the head pokes forward from center, we lose access to our abdominals in a really, really healthy way. So I want you to feel the weight of that 10-pound, 12-pound, depending on your brain power. No, I don't know if it has to do with brain power, does it? I'm just kidding. But anyways, let that bowling ball of the head rest on down. And on your next exhale, you're going to bring your ribs together and down into your body, and that lifts your head up off the block. And then keeping that head up and those ribs in and down, you release the head back without losing that abdominal power. Inhale here. Imagine you could use the muscles of the spine to extend the spine. And as you exhale, release the head back down onto the block. Inhale. Exhale, it's the ribs and the belly that work together. In fact, if you had little arrows on your waistline, those would be pistoning down into the floor. The head hangs back a little bit, and you reiterate that with each exhale. The ribs coming in, the waistline's plugging down, the head resting back. We've got one more breath here. So each exhale, bring those abdominals together and down, and the head relaxing back. You've got this. Last breath. Inhale. Release. Take a cleansing breath. Beautiful. We'll begin again. We'll add a little bit more each time. So inhale, neutral. Exhale, ribs come in and down to lift up your head. The head rests back. As you exhale the next time, the right foot comes off the floor till the heels are even with the toes on the other side. And then you work those same actions. So each exhale, the waistline's plugged down, the front ribs come in, and the head hangs back. And I bet you get a little shaky here. I hope you do. That's a good thing. And as you exhale the next time, release that heel back down to the floor. Inhale, stay up. Exhale, lift your other heel off the floor till it's even with the toes on the other side, and then find that abdominal work. Ribs in, side waistlines plugging, head hanging back. 2 more breaths. Each exhale gives us an opportunity to re-engage. And then exhale, release the foot, release the head. Take a cleansing breath into the belly. Okay, we're going to add on as we switch the legs in midair. So inhale, neutral. Exhale, curl, abdominals in, side waistlines down, head heavy. Exhale, lift the right leg up and reiterate that work. Remember, you don't have to look at it. You can keep your head neutral and feel into where that is. Inhale that leg down and exhale the other one up. Keep working those abdominals towards each other, waistlines down, head heavy. Inhale that heel down. Exhale, using your abdominals to lift that leg. Inhale, release down. Last time, use those abdominals. And inhale, release. And bend your knees. Take a cleansing breath. Beautiful. Okay, now we're going to roll onto our left rib cage. Bring that block right into the place of the between the shoulder and the neck. So you have a little place to rest there, so the head's not hanging too much, and extend your right leg out so that it's parallel to the floor. Use that same abdominal work to pull ribs in, waistlines back, and then take your hand and just lay it on your hip here and breathe. And I want you to feel as if you're going to extend now, like we did at the very beginning. You're going to sneak that arm towards overhead, but you're not going to do the hand. The hand's just going to drape down. And you're going to work to extend through core lines. When you feel like you've extended through core lines, then you can take the hand and stack it onto the pose. And you just breathe here. And now start to do little teeny pulsations with the leg. So you wake up those outer hips. Super good for stabilizing, for getting all the infrastructure around IT band, glutes. You want to keep those abdominals back. Drape the hand every once in a while and then re-extend it and see if it changes the way you do the movement. So we're always working in yoga to move from the distal ends, the toes and the fingers, into our core. Good. Now you can take that right hand like a kickstand and turn the top toes down and touch the floor, and turn them up and open through the hip. And then keep going like that, turning down, tapping, and turning open. And see if you can get that right into the hip area so that you're using the muscles of not of the feet, but of the hip area. In fact, try to keep a little tension out of that foot. So just like we did with the hands. So you send it more into the closer edges of the body. Beautiful. Now turn it down so the toes point down, lift it up, and just little teeny pulses up there. You'll get it. You'll feel it right in that side body. One more breath. Activate abdominals. Oh, shake it out. Bring it down and tap it so that your knees are touching. You can bring them in a little closer to your core, and your big toe and inner heel are touching. Then pressing up through peanut butter, you open that knee up to the sky, and then pressing it through something thick again down to the knees. And you just go like that, inhaling open, exhaling close. And you're trying to get the body opening to its optimal, or to its edge, I guess. And back down. And you're just working all those muscles around the hip region to wake up and be strong. Last one. Inhaling, opening, and exhaling, close. Now just keep those stacked. Take your hand, stack it on your shoulder here, and then just drop your elbow down and forward. You'll get a teeny little roll like you're going to go into a twist. You just open that shoulder. The hand tries to keep that shoulder stable. You just enjoy that little bit of twist in your back to warm it up. Inhaling and exhaling. Last one. Beautiful. And then you're just going to roll over onto your tummy and then to your other side. I'm going to flip around so I don't put my back to you. Going to lay on that right rib. The block stacks in between the shoulder and the ear. And you're making sure that that burrito roll is right on the side rib. Beautiful. And then you extend your left leg long and your toes are pointing straight forward and your arm on your side. And then you reiterate that core work. You try to feel, what would that feel like in this position? And then you start to sneak your arm up overhead, but not your fingers. And then just feel what that would feel like to stretch through the core lines of the body. When you feel like you've got it and you filled in your abdominals, then go ahead and stack the fingers on, but not to bring all the attention there, just to have them extended as part of the pose. One more breath. You can start to do your little pulses. You got to really work your abdominals here so that you're not wibble wobbling and falling off your center. One more breath. And then take that hand like a kickstand, turn your foot down like a pigeon toe, and then turn it up like a duck toe. And see if you can make that happen right into the hip creases. So you're doing it slowly and mindfully. You're really feeling into your edge there. Like when you get to the pigeon or the duck, could you take it another centimeter? I like centimeters just because they're smaller than inches. You're gonna just take it that extra little bit, okay? You're gonna finish by turning the foot down, pigeon toe, lifting that leg as high as it will go, and then teeny little pulses again. Don't forget to fill in your abdominals. Oh boy, I know you can feel this. I know I can. One more breath, and then shake it out. Whew. And bring that knee until your legs are stacked, and you can bring your knees a little closer to your belly. The big toes and the inner heels are touching. You start to open the knee to the sky and then bring it in. And it's like you're moving through something really thick. And you're trying to go for that extra centimeter when you get to the open edge. When you breathe, you fill in your abdominals. You're just isolating movement here. So we just get into really specific muscles. And you might wonder, well, what does this have to do with the unknown or the back body? Well, the unknown is that we're working muscles that have gone to sleep, so we're making them more known. But when we make the legs stronger, we free up the back. And so it's really important to get this infrastructure well attuned. All right, you're going to release that. You'll release the block out between your shoulder, and you're going to come onto your bellies, that little mound right above the pubic bone where you have a little bit of belly fat, and you're going to be on your forearms. So you're looking like Sphinx pose. And the elbows are right underneath your shoulders, and you press down with your hands and isometrically scoot them forward like you're trying to stretch the mat. The legs walk close together, and you also stretch out through your toes. And so maybe you start to feel the knees can stay on the floor, but the legs are active, and you start to feel a little bit of uplift in the low belly. Take another breath or two here. See if you can soften the back body. See if you can extend the back of the neck. And please make sure you're breathing. One more breath here. See if you can squeeze those inner thighs a little bit more, so there's a lot of action there. And then take your arms behind you. Supported Shalabhasana. What a great way to start your practice of bringing the back body awake. Shrug your shoulders, roll and lift. Shrug your shoulders, roll and lift. See if you can see over the horizon. Beautiful. And then release down and take Danda Pranam. Arms straight in front of you, forehead to the floor. Take a cleansing breath. And another. We're gonna repeat that. So bring your elbows back, come to Sphinx, forearms press down and forward, legs reach back. See if you can relax the heart forward. See if you can bring the low belly in and up. See if you can lengthen the back of the neck. And now the legs, the big toes start to squeeze towards each other to wake up the inner thighs. Once you feel them squeezing, then you take your arms behind the back. Supported Shalabhasana or locust pose. Inhale, shrug the shoulders, lift them up to sky, and look up over the horizon. One more, shrug, lift, and look. And then release that, place the hands by your sides, push up to tabletop, big toes touching, knees wide apart, forehead on the blankie, and child's pose. So you might have to scoot it back a little bit. Your hands are out in front of you, but I want you to come up onto tippy fingers. And so as you push the fingers down and as you push the shins down, you'll feel a little uplift in the body. This is good. We never want to hang on the joints. And you might feel a little engagement in core. So remember our first core work. I'm going to ask you to do that often today. So bring those frontal ribs in, side waistlines pin up this time because we're upside down, or we're downside up, or whatever. I guess we're upside down, aren't we? Another breath. Beautiful. And then you're going to come forward again onto that little belly place. And this time you're going to come to a Y with your hands. And they're on fingertips. Oh, actually, you know what? I don't want the blanket anymore. I forgot. So take that blanket out and come onto your belly. And take your hands out in your Y. So your fingers are at about 2 o'clock and 10 o'clock. Forehead is on the floor. This time you're going to press down with your fingers, lift your belly and your ribs off the floor. It's just like what we were doing before, but now we're upside down. And then release. And we'll do that 2 more times. So fingertips press down. We lift the belly, the ribs, and the sternum. And the throat. And release. Last one. Pressing down, lifting belly, ribs, sternum, and throat. And release it on down. Bring your hands by your sides. Inhale, look up, think Shalabhasana. In fact, we'll just take it there. The arms behind the back, locust pose. Lifting up shoulders, look over the horizon. Lifting up shoulders, look over the horizon. And then hands by your side. Press up to tabletop and back to child's pose. Take a breath there. Pressing down through shins and hands just enough to get a little uplift of front body and to have that knit together so that you have the strength to extend the spine. Back onto your belly. This time, we're going to take the left hand like a kickstand and swing the right arm through. So the right arm is palm face up, out, straight out to the side like a T, like an opposite T, because it's coming to its opposite side. And then you make a little pillow with your hand, or if that's too much, you could use a block. And you just look down at the floor and you stretch through that upper arm. Maybe you'll even feel it through the back of the shoulder blades or back between the 2 shoulder blades. And breathe into those places of the unknown. Breathe into those places that are tight and contracted. Last breath. All right, switch it out. So come on to your forearms or kickstand. Swing the left arm under the right arm until the palm is face up and you're on your shoulder. Make a little stack there for your forehead with your hand and just breathe. And breathe into what's tight. You might feel it through your ribs, through your lats, through your scapula. Full deep breath. One more. Beautiful. Come on back to center. You're going to walk your knees up and you're to stand on your hands. So it looks like tabletop with a little difference. So the right arm, you're going to stand on your right arm and your elbow is going to be straight. Okay, it's never going to bend. So this is the work that you're going to have to focus on, is that this arm is straight. The other hand comes behind the head. So it's like what we did before where the head rests back into the hands. You press down with the standing arm and try to open the elbow, head pressing back to the sky. Or I should really more accurately say throat pressing back. And then as you exhale, remember that elbow doesn't bend, but you try to touch the elbow to your opposite wrist. And so you're really going to get a nice stretch through the back body. Inhale, open, throat pushing back, opening through the upper body. Exhale, right elbow does not bend. Left elbow tries to touch wrist. One more. Inhale, throat back, pull it up. Exhale, try to touch. Beautiful. Just sit on back here. Take a breath, hands in your lap, and just notice the difference between sides. Opportunity to breathe and settle. Let's go second side. So rocking forward, left arm, weight is on that left arm. It never bends. That elbow never bends. The hand comes behind the head and you just take the sides of the throat back and you try to open that elbow to sky. And then without bending the left elbow, try to touch right elbow to left wrist. And then again, opening. Sides of the throat are what pull you back. The head is heavy into the hands. Exhale, elbow to wrist. Inhale, open. Exhale, stretch. Beautiful. Release that. Sit on back onto your knees. Take a cleansing breath. And here, we're just going to reach back behind ourselves and grab our opposite elbow. And I want you to just realize the gap, or maybe yes or maybe no, depending on your body, the gap between forearms and ribs. So I want those ribs to kind of settle back into the forearms. I don't want there to be a gap. And as you notice, as those ribs settle back, you're going to get a little more sensation in the back body from your wrist, forearms. But you're also going to feel maybe how the front body gets a little narrow or a little shorter. All right, one more breath there. Good. And now you're going to take your left arm and you're going to grab your right wrist. So you still got everything behind you, but your right hand grabs your wrist, your left wrist. And you're just going to pull that over to the side until your hands are on your ribs. I don't know how much, hopefully you can see that. So I'm just pulling it over to the side there. So I'm just getting a little stretch through my shoulder and I'm breathing and I'm trying to let the ribs settle back into the back forearm. So I'm getting more sensation there. Beautiful. And then gently release and shift. So just keep your hands behind the back. And now the right wrist grabs the left one and you bring it over to the left side of the body, or the right side. I'm sorry, there's too many rights and lefts here. Hopefully you got this. And then you just feel the back body resting back into the forearm. And you breathe. And maybe feel the shortening of front body. A little nice little gentle stretch for the arms. Okay, release that. You're just going to take your hands like fists and extend them and squeeze them. And you're working to find those little teeny muscles, like make you that tightest fist you can and stretch it out. Good. And then take your hands like you're trying to take your own pulse. So the fingertips try to reach to that pulse point. And you're just stretching out the back of the wrist. It sort of looks like I think it looks like you're a dinosaur or something, like a little raptor or something that has these little teeny arms. And you're trying to bring you'll really get a nice wrist stretch there for the back of the wrist. Good. Release that. And now just shake it out. Okay, we're going to come into hands and knees. We're going to take cow tilt. So toes are tucked under. pressing feet forward, look up, cow. Exhale, feet tuck under and cat. Inhale, tuck the toes for cow. Exhale, flat feet for cat. Really find those abdominals. Really try to press those straight arms into the floor to find that space in the upper back. Inhale to cow. Exhale to cat. One more. Inhaling to cow. And exhaling to cat. And now just wiggle your hips left and right. So you're trying to just, it's almost like you're making a smile with your hips. So you go up at each edge. And this kind of frees up the low back too and gets into those hip joints. From here, you're just going to walk your hands forward like downward facing dog. Tuck your toes. Try to get your hips right over your knees. Press your fingers down onto the floor so you feel like the armpits are lifting. And then melt that place right above the shoulder blades. One more breath. Can you bring in your core work? Good stretch for the shoulders. Come on back, toes tucked under, sit on back. Make sure your knees are parallel or your legs are parallel and just sit on back, whoo, and feel the stretch of your toes. One more breath here. Okay, here we go. Hands and knees, cow tilt to downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. And go ahead and tread this one out. So reach your left heel to the floor as you bend your right knee. And then reach your right heel to the floor as you bend your left knee. And really try to stretch that heel down. Let's go back to first side. So bending right, stretching left. When you get that left heel down, can you slightly squeegee it out to the side? You'll get a nice little internal hamstring stretch. And then bend your left knee, get your right heel down, and then just gently squeegee that right heel out to the right. Oh. And release. Pull in those abdominals. Hinge forward just a little bit so that your upper arm bones are moving forward. Last breath here. And then tippy toes. Take your time. Walk to the front of the mat. Uttanasana, standing forward fold. Keep your eyes open, look at your feet. Try to draw the awareness of feet and legs up into the hips, finding the roots of your hips. Bow forward from there, knees soft, legs strong. Inhale, press yourself up, Ardha Uttanasana. Let the abdominals do their work. Exhale, Utkatasana. Inhale, bring hands to hips. As you push down, lift your heart up. Push down through your legs and come up to stand. Tadasana, exhale, release. Inhale, fly your arms up overhead. Remember, the fingertips want to take it all. So take another breath here and find the extension of your body. And as you exhale, dive forward, Uttanasana. Inhale, halfway up, Ardha Uttanasana. Bend your knees, take your right leg back to a bent knee lunge. And from here, you're gonna drop that back knee to the floor, but you're gonna kick up the back foot just to get that first stretch. And the hamstring's gonna wanna fire. So you can relax it down and you can fire it up. And you can relax it down. You're waking up those fibers, because you want to tire them out a little bit to get them also to relax. So you want to activate them first. That's a really great way to get them to relax. From here, you plant that foot, you lift the back knee up, both feet press down to lift the hips as high as you can without coming out of a lunge. And then you rock forward and back, Uttanasana, standing forward fold. Second side, halfway up, Ardha Uttanasana. Bend the knees, take your left leg back to a lunge. Now you have that front knee is stacked right over the front ankle. So you get really clear there. Both feet press down so there's a little uplift in the hips. And then you start to lift that back heel up and down, trying to wake up those hamstring fibers, get them a little bit engaged and tired out so they know that they don't have to do it all. They can take a break sometimes. Keep going. They try to get over involved in a lot of different things, so we're going to try to tire them out. Here we go. Drop that back foot to the floor, press down, lift the back knee. Without coming out of the lunge, press strongly into your feet to lift the hips up. Beautiful. Step it back. Plank pose. We're going to come right into forearm plank. So from here, strong abdominals lifting off the floor. And then you come to left forearm and right forearm. And from here, try to make yourself a plank. Try to pull the abdominals, do that same core work we were doing. Remember that the head rests back. And then soften the knees and start to walk yourself forward to dolphin. And you just go as far as you can. The knees never have to straighten. You're trying to stack the shoulders over your elbows and the head hangs. So now you can look at your feet. One more breath. The forearms push down and forward. Oh, and then drop your knees to the floor and sit on back. That's one of the best stretches for shoulder and back body awakening. Take another breath here. Beautiful. Come forward into cow tilt and moving into dog. Exhale, Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Press down with hands and feet. Shrug shoulders and hips away from the floor. See if you can rest that monster head back and bring in those abdominals. Good. One more breath here. You can step or jump or float or little hops to the front of the mat. So inhale, tippy toes. Exhale, walk forward or bend the knees and jump. We'll finish up in Uttanasana, standing forward fold, however you got there. Inhale, pressing up to Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, Utkatasana, hands to the hips, elbows migrate towards each other. Legs first press to bring the heart up. And then we add abdominals, and then we press to stand. Exhale, release. Inhale, fly your arms overhead, grab your left wrist with your right hand. Exhale, bow to the side. And here's a fun little one just to try. You're gonna stand on your left foot. That's the foot you're bowing away from. The other foot kind of sneaks out, and your IT band on that side will start to fire. One's getting a little stretch, one's getting a little fire. You try to stand on the left leg and lift the right leg up. Oh, maybe you fall. Inhale, come up. If you do, that was fun. Beautiful. Roll the shoulders, cleansing breath. Let's try second side. Inhale, fly. Grab your right wrist with your left hand and pour it over to the side. Then stand on your right leg. You're going to take the leg out that you're bowing towards. You're going to get a monster stretch on your IT band on the right, but you're going to engage the left one and see if you can lift up that foot. You got to use your abdominals. Inhale, come on up. Beautiful. Exhale, release. Inhale, fly your arms up overhead. Exhale, dive forward, Uttanasana. Inhale, halfway up, Ardha Uttanasana. This time, left leg back, bent knee lunge. You're gonna kick that back leg up, walk your right hand onto your right leg, and swing that arm around and try to find that foot. If you can't, just holding it up there will help. You're gonna try to bring it in. I like to turn my hand around so that I can work on my transverse arch. Remember that from a few weeks ago? We try to fold that foot at the very top. Beautiful. Release that one slowly down. Walk your hands down by your front foot. Take a breath. We're going to go to the other way. So now the left hand stays on the floor. The right hand swings up and around and grabs that foot, and we bring it in. So all back bends need open thighs. It's just the reality. We press the knee and the foot down to lift the hips up, and we stretch. For an extra shoulder rib stretch, you kick that foot back till the arm gets straight, And then you try to rotate your bottom ribs up to the top ribs. Beautiful, and release. Rock it forward and back, Uttanasana. Breathing in, breathing out. Second side. Inhaling halfway. Bend the knees. Take your right leg back, bent knee lunge. Just pause there for a moment to get that stretch happening, making sure you're pressing the feet down to find a little uplift in the hips. The left hand comes onto the left thigh. You start by kicking that back foot up, reaching around, grabbing it. Either you just pull it in or the hands swoop around. That's kind of hard for some of us so that the fingers are pointed forward. And we just breathe there and try to get that transverse arch. Now my tendency is to fold forward onto the hips. So I'm going to press down and try to come back a little bit so I'm not hanging on the joints. One more breath. And release that on down. The right hand comes to the floor. You take a breath. And you kick that leg up again. Now this time the left hand reaches for the right foot. And you bring it in. Find that stretch in the quadricep. And then you can start to press that foot back until the arm goes straight. And then you bring the bottom ribs, rotate them around to the top rib. Beautiful. And release. You're going to step on back to plank, taking that left leg back to meet the right. We're going to come right away into forearm plank. After you've established that nice straight line, you come down onto your right forearm, down onto your left forearm. You establish that nice strong plank, and then you turn out to the outer right side of your foot, the pinky toe side, and you stack the left leg on top. And then you look down at those hands, shrug the shoulders forward, activate your abdominals, and stretch the spine. One of my favorite twists. Let's go second side. You make your way, you walk your way over to that left outer foot, stack it. Hands press forward. Abdominals pull back. Square off the shoulders. And release. One more, you're almost there. Bend the knees, walk your way up till your shoulders are right over your elbows as best you can. Let the head hang. One more breath. And release, knees to the floor. Sit on back. Take a cleansing breath. Beautiful. Inhale to hands and knees. Look up for cow. Exhale for dog. Press down with hands and knees. Find your abdominals. That strong core. Good. From here, walk your feet close together. Come to tippy toes. Keep your left foot on the floor. Keep your hips square and swing your right leg towards the sky. Good. Bring it on down. Take your heels to the floor. Inhale to tippy toes. Keep your right foot on the floor. Keep your hips square. Inhale your left leg up to sky. Exhale, bring it down. Bring your heels down to the floor. Inhale, tippy toes. Right leg comes up. We look forward. Left knee bends. We use that back leg. You can even do a little kick start here and swing that left leg forward as best you can. Take a pause in your lunge. Walk forward, hands onto the legs. Good, you're just gonna bend the back knee and drop it almost to the floor. Use your strong legs and press up again. Here we go again. Bending the knees, dropping that back knee almost to the floor. You'll feel a nice stretch through the quadricep. Come on up. Beautiful. Rock yourself forward, touch down. Rock forward and back, Uttanasana. Halfway up, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, Utkatasana. Hands on the hips, pressing through the legs to lift the heart. Abdominals strong. Inhale to stand. Exhale to release. Inhale, fly. Exhale, dive. Inhale, halfway up, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale. Let's take left leg back to plank. Right leg back to plank. Take a pause here. Find your strong plank. Left forearm's down, right forearm down. Make your plank again. Strong abdominals, bend your knees. Start to walk your way forward till shoulders are right over elbows. Knees can bend. Abdominal strong. Hang your head. Let it hang. Now, if you want to, keep your weight on your left leg and lift your right leg off the floor. Bring it on down. Keep your right leg on the floor. Inhale your left leg off and bring it on down. Knees to the floor. Sit on back. Take a cleansing breath. Beautiful. We're going to lean forward, tuck our toes, and press back into ragdoll pose. So we're on our feet, our knees are bent, we're towards the back of the mat, and we can just hang the head and breathe into the unknown. Breathe into that back body. Beautiful. And then swing your arms up behind you, interlace your fingers, keep your knees soft, and let your hands come forward to stretch through the shoulders. Big deep breath in and out. Beautiful. Bend your knees deeply. Bring your elbows to the knees. Look forward. Take your toes slightly out. We're going to come down towards a squat. You want to, when you get partway down, you want to root those feet down and try to split the mat apart. And if that's all you do, hallelujah, it's okay. You don't have to come into a squat. Otherwise, you're trying to push the mat apart to come down. And if you have to grab your mat, that's okay too. You just keep trying to split the mat apart. Maybe you get down, maybe you don't. Beautiful. Elbows to knees, push them wide and back to straight and bow forward like an Uttanasana, but legs are wide. Inhale, your arms behind the back, goofy fingers, and exhale, bow forward. Beautiful. Last squat here. So release, bring elbows to knees, bend deeply. Bring your heels in. Split the mat apart, get a rip right down the middle of that mat. You can use your elbows on your inner knees to help you. And you just go down as far as you can, splitting that mat apart, grabbing mat if you need to for support. One more breath. If you can, bring your hands all the way into prayer. Breathe deeply, and then the elbows stay so that they press on those knees to keep them wide and stable as you come up, and then you just walk yourself back to downward facing dog. Take a pause, take a breath, engage your abdominals, press down to lift. One more. And release. If your knees are tender, grab a blanket. And if your back bends are not too good, we're not going to do camel pose yet, but we're working towards this. So you want to have blocks handy. Otherwise, take your blanket in a pillow fold. You don't have to do this. This is just if knees are tender. You put your knees on the blanket, but your feet are off. And you'll notice my toes are tucked under. My hands are on my hips here. And I'm just, in the beginning, pressing down from the hips down through the knees. So I really feel the engagement of legs. Once the knees hit the floor, there's sensation that causes a rebound effect back up the legs. And so that you can bring all that energy from the floor up into your brain. The thumbs can kind of reach back there and give yourself a little back massage. Try to soften those muscles that get so tight. Sometimes I'll do a little left and right bend just to get a little nice little massage into those QLs or extensors, whichever's tight on you, often both. Good. And then take the booty and just drop it back a little bit so you have a lumbar curve. In other words, don't tuck the tailbone under and shove the hips forward. Let it relax back so that the booty is like two ripe mangoes. Then inhale neutral, and as you exhale, push and lay back. And then inhale through the knees and come up, hands on the hips. Exhale, push. Lean on back. Get those thighs awake. Inhale, push to come up. Exhale, push to go back. Beautiful. Come on up. I'm going to turn. I'm not sure which way all of y'all are, but you're going to turn so that your knees are in the very center of the width of the mat, but my knees are back towards the back edge of the mat. I'll take my right leg and swing it through. Now here's where a block can come in handy. If you're super tight, you could put something like a block or a blanket underneath your toes. So my toes, my big toe mount is just resting on the block. Otherwise, you don't have to have anything, but you're going to inhale your arms out to the side, soften your hands, and then soften your feet as well. So you bring your attention into your center. As you exhale, the left hand goes on your leg and you bow over. I'm not sure if I said the proper leg out. You should have your left leg out. And then you just stretch through that side body. And now you're going to carve that top hand into a diagonal. So you're going to bring your body around a little bit until you're almost bowing forward. And then you're going to carve it back so that you open up the side body. We've got 2 more of those. So you carve it forward, abdominals get active, and then you carve it open and you're stretching that side body. Last one, carve it forward. This is called Parigasana, gate pose. Press down and come up. And did you notice that that word asana was on the end of that name, Parigasana, Parigasana. Take a breath. Here we go, right leg out to the side. And again, you can have something under your toes. You can also keep this knee soft. What I don't want you to do is just harden and lock that knee down. So it always wants to be micro bent. The hands or the arms come out to the side. The hands are soft. Inhale. Exhale, bow it to the side. Feel that stretch opening the rib cage. And then carve that hand forward so that you're almost bowing. And then inhale, carve it open. And carve it forward. And carve it open. I'm just getting a nice little massage through all those side body muscles. Carve it open. You're going to root down and come on up. Exhale, bring that knee down and sit on down and take a cleansing breath. All right, you're going to take that blanket, if you have it underneath you. If you don't have it, grab one, and you're going to make a half pillow fold and place that behind you. So you're going to come in front of that sitting, and a block now can come between your feet and you're sitting on it. I'm not going to use a block because I don't have to. So there's 2 poses that we often refer to. Vajrasana is where the heels are right under the sitting bones, a little bit easier, but also gives a good stretch for these quadricep muscles. Or there's Vajrasana, where the heels go wide to the outer edges of the hips and we sit on down. However, if you're hanging, those hips are not sitting easily down because it's causing you pain or discomfort, then you should be up on a block. So never let the hips hang. They should be touching earth. You take your hands and you just gently pick up each knee and you just loosen up that flesh. Now this blanket behind you is just for your elbows. So theoretically, your elbows can come down onto the blanket. Now that doesn't mean that everybody can do it. So this Vajrasana, there's that asana, you've got to take it so that it's your seat. Like you could place a block behind there and just press down and lift up your heart here. So there's lots of different ways you can do that. You could even just sit up straight. That might be enough for you. But if you can come back to forearms, you're getting a really nice stretch for the fronts of the thighs. Just remember there's that little abdominal effort. And we breathe here. You're also getting a stretch for the front of the ankles and the tops of the feet. So last breath. Beautiful. You're going to press down with your elbows, lift your heart up, and see if you can keep the heart leading the charge as you come back up to sitting. And now just one little treat for your feet before we move on. So you're going to take your right foot, the top of the foot, and place it in the arch of the other foot. And you're going to sit on back. And you'll get a nice little stretch, massage of the upper arch into the lower arch. So you're getting just a little stretch there. Another breath. Little foot massage. If you have high arches, I think this usually is a little bit more sensational. Let's switch sides. So you're going to take the left foot on the floor and take the right arch in there and sit on back and just get a nice little stretch on your feet. All right, release that. You can take that blanket off to the side. We're going to move back into downward facing dog so that we get a few more standing poses before we move into our final big pose, which is camel. So inhale, arch the back like a cow. Exhale, you're going to move back into downward facing dog, making sure your abdominals are strong. Your hips are moving in one direction and your shoulders in the other. Head and neck are in line with the spine. One more breath. Inhale, tippy toes. Walk your way to the front of the mat. Uttanasana. This time, we're going to take our right leg back to a straight leg lunge. But we're going to have our hands so that they make a little triangle around that front foot. See, I'm in front of that front foot by maybe a half a foot or so. I'm going to try to step onto the left foot and not using momentum but strength. I'm going to push up until that right foot is behind me. I'm going to take the inner thighs and squeeze them, the outer hips and squeeze them. And then I'm going to look forward using the power of that standing leg. I'm going to try to bring my hands by my side for warrior three. Okay, now place the hands back down with control. Bend the front knee, come down into a lunge with your back foot. Anchor it to the back of the mat. Bring your left hand onto the inside of your left leg. Open your right arm to the sky. Press down with both legs and come up for warrior two. Beautiful. Come up with straight legs. Take your hands behind the back and grab your opposite elbow. Beautiful. Guide your left knee towards a bent knee, right over the second and third toe. Now you might be able to reach that right arm with your left arm and pull it across until your right hand touches your left thigh. Maybe, maybe not. It's a little bind there. And just opens the front of the shoulder. One more breath. Beautiful. Press down and come on up. Turn that foot forward. Take a breath. Turn the other foot out. You're going to switch the crossing of your hands. And you're going to bend that front knee into Virabhadrasana 2, warrior 2. Good. And then you're going to use your right hand to bring your left elbow across. And if you can, you're going to touch that front thigh. Do you see which hand is touching? If I take my arms out, you can see that it's this arm that's reaching for the knee or for the thigh. Beautiful. One more breath. Press on down. Turn the foot in. Take a cleansing breath. Turn the other one out. Beautiful. This time you're going to grab your hands so they're interlaced, but they're behind you. Yep, so they're on that right rib cage. And then you're going to bend the front knee. Warrior 2. Good. And now you're going to switch it. You're going to bring it across. And you're going to try to grab that thigh. Sometimes I have to inch it and take time and let the body adjust. The other hand steps out and you look over that front hand. Good, just for fun, try to keep it there and bring the elbow onto your knee. You'll get a big front shoulder stretch. And then press down and come on up. Release that, turn that foot forward. And if you're not even coming close to that, don't worry, you're getting a benefit even without all that. Turn your right foot out. Bring your hands interlace behind the back and bring them over to your left rib. Guide that left leg to a bend right over second and third toes. Take a breath there. And then swing the hands around and try to bring that hand onto the front of the thigh. You can take it in increments. You can work it slowly. The other hand comes out. Look over at that hand. Beautiful. If you'd like to try Utthita with the bind, you bring that elbow down. And you get a nice stretch through the front of the shoulder. One last breath. Root down and come up. Turn both feet straight forward. Bring your hands on your hips. Inhale, lift the heart. Exhale, bow forward for Prasarita Padottanasana, hands on the floor. You can be in those Sphinx arms still. If that doesn't work for you, if you're not flexible enough, just bring your hands to the floor. Beautiful. You're going to walk your body over to the left leg so that the right hand grabs the left ankle. You bend that elbow and you try to touch down onto the floor. And I think you'll feel a stretch through your right side. You make your abdominals stronger, just like we did at the beginning, and you'll feel a big stretch there. And release. Walk to the other side. Find your right ankle with your left hand. Start to bend that right elbow, left elbow, and bring it to the floor. Abdominals engage, and you should feel a nice shoulder stretch. All right, beautiful. One more action before we do our final pose. Come onto your bellies. Place your forehead on your hands. Your knees are soft. They're on the floor. Your toes are tucked under. You begin to press down with your knees and your hands and your elbows, and you lift your booty up into the sky. Create that big lumbar curve. Activate your abdominals. Can you use that very first abdominal exercise to influence this pose? One more breath. Okay, beautiful. You are all set up for camel. Hands by your chest. Press up to tabletop. Beautiful. And then find your blankie if you need it and your blocks. So blanket is optional. That's if your knees are tender. Blocks are optional. They're if you're stiff and you need the floor lifted up a little bit, and you put them on the tall side by your ankles. And there may be some of us that can't even reach to the block. And remember, it's your asana, Ustrasana, camel pose. So you take the seat of your camel as best you can. So the very first action is the hands are on the hips and we let the butt hang. So we make sure that we're not pushing it forward. That just doesn't serve our back. And the hands, the thumbs can feel then into that little lumbar curve. Good. And the hands can press down a little bit. So we feel the weight down through the knees. And there's a little rebound. As the rebound happens, we lift up and over and we reach for our heels. And instead of jamming the hips forward, we actually isometrically pull the sitting bones towards the heels. And that causes the lumbar spine to arch and gives us a head start as we press down and find the stretch in the upper back. One more breath. Press down and see if you can lift the heart up to come up and sit on back. Vajrasana. Take a cleansing breath. Got one more of those. Whoop, whoop. Here we go. Come on up to your knees, your shins. Toes tucked under is optional, but it's easier. And it also brings more muscle action into the legs. So it's more remedial. Place the hands on your hips and the thumbs. Give yourself a little back massage. It's kind of like a little reward. And you just get in there and, oh, what needs a little bit more stretch and movement. Sometimes you're lucky enough, you'll even get a little release there. All right, hands on the hips now, they press down, the booty moves back. As we feel the weight of the body move down the legs and into the knees, there's a little rebound as we lift up and arc over. You can reach for your heels or blocks, but either way, please don't shove the sitting bones forward. Draw them back, root down through those strong legs, feel the rebound, and press down with your hands to lift your heart. One more breath. Press down, try to let the heart lead the way, and come on up. We're going to bring big toes touching here, knees wide apart. You can scoot forward so you're mostly on your blanket if you have one, except for the edge of the blanket is right in your ankles. Take a block, place it in front of you or two, and we'll do a little bit of a restorative child's pose. So we'll just hang forward here. Let the weight of your body go down through your shins. Like really let it go. And breathe. Let the breath be ujjayi. Let it be a victorious breath where you narrow down the throat and you hear that breath moving through you like waves. Those waves are coming into shore and moving away from shore. Your energy is coming into the body and then moving away. And we think of ourselves here in this pose now as we start to rest. Let your edges be a little more permeable. Like we tend to see ourselves as this solid structure. Physics, quantum physics tells us otherwise, that we're actually quite permeable and we're taking in energy constantly from around us and we're sending energy out. So we want to make sure in our yoga practice that that energy is good energy because we spend enough time with the other. So you just imagine yourself a little permeable here, as if you're taking in things that are vibrant, that have a healthy vibration, that serve us, move us forward in life. And we do the same. As we exhale, we're sending out energy. So I was hearing a man talk yesterday about microbiome, and I learned something new. And that is that you receive bacteria. And in microbiome study, they do distinguish between bacterias, but in general, all bacterias are good for us. That we don't want a monoculture in our body. We want a diverse microbiome, and we get some through our oxygen intake. So I just had this little thoughtfulness, and not a judgment, but just a little thoughtfulness about us wearing masks too much when we're out and about. And when we feel safe, we want to get them off because our immune system is dependent upon gut flora, gut bacteria and body bacteria that's super healthy. And when we're breathing our own fumes, we're actually breathing back in what our body's trying to expel. And we're not breathing in the microbiome that's around us. So just a little reminder, when you're out and about, it's really important to keep your immune system strong and healthy, that you're breathing in lots of bacteria. I know that seems weird, but we actually have lots of viruses in our body. And that's a good thing because it makes our immune system strong. So get out into nature where you can, breathe in dust particles and that are, obviously not too thick, and just really enjoy how that breath helps you stay healthy. I just thought that was pretty interesting. All right. There's your little microbiome lecture for the day. Come on up to sitting and move on to your backs. Your knees are bent. Your feet are flat on the floor. You're going to drape your left leg over your right leg. So it's like how guys sit. And you're feeling your right foot on the floor. Step into it so that your hips lift off and drape them over to the right and place them back down. So they're off center. Now let your knees drop off to the left. And as best you can, try to relax your right shoulder back onto the mat. And feel that stretch where it is for you. One more breath. And very gently, using abdominal awareness and engagement, bring that knee back up. You're going to keep your legs just as they are, but you're going to get those hips so they're central again, so they're not kitty-wampus off to the side. As you exhale the next time, bring your knees into the chest and hug them and curl. So after back bends, it's really good to bend the spine gently in the other direction, as long as you don't overdo it. And then bring your hands onto your ankles and spread those ankles wide. So extreme forward bends and back bends are not good to do next to each other. We always want to do a little twisting first and let all the fluid come back into the spine before we move it in the opposite direction in big ways. And gently release, unravel those legs and take them in the opposite crossing. Bear down on your left foot, your standing foot, and swing the hips off to the left and lay them back down. So now they're off center. Hands go out in T, and you bring your knees to the right. Trying to drop as best you can, drop the left shoulder onto the mat. And you just feel into that super safe stretch. One more breath. Using awake abdominals to bring you back up to center. Keep your legs how they are, but recentralize yourself. Inhale and exhale, bring the knees into the chest and a curl. And then reach for your ankles, pull the ankles wide, stretch through the hips. Breathing all the while. Keep your legs up, but unravel them and take them into happy baby. Ananda Balasana. So Balasana is a word for child's pose. So child, taking your seat as a child. And Ananda means bliss. So the name of this pose is Ananda Balasana, which means take this pose as a blissful child might. So that means to me that you get to move a little bit, that you don't need to be stuck and you just get into different parts of your body as if you are a child experimenting and exploring the way your body works. One more breath. And then find the ankles and rub your feet. We're going to do one more restorative style pose for our final resting pose. So That means you're going to have to come up to sitting for a moment to get ready. So rock onto your side, find 1 or 2 blankets. If you're a little more comfortable with your back bend, you can have 2. If you're not so comfortable, 1. But you start with pillow fold and then just make half pillow fold. So you have that narrow fold. Now this part is optional, but if you have a strap, I like this because I can really rest. So I have my strap with a tail and a big loop. I'm going to shorten that loop and I'm going to take my legs inside the loop. So like I'm putting on a skirt. I will come onto my back, onto my hips. So I'm sitting right in front of that double stacked or single stacked blanket. You're going to lie back down. As you lie back down, you're going to tighten your strap. Now, if you don't have a strap, it's no big deal. You don't have to have this. It just makes it a little more therapeutic. And then you lay back down. And remember, the point of these poses is to feel good. So if there's anything that doesn't feel good, adjust around. Bring the blankets lower, higher, stacked, or what do you call that? Terraced, I guess you might say, so that one blanket is like slightly behind the other blanket. And then you lay back down. If this still isn't comfortable for you, maybe only one blanket is. But that strap will just keep your legs together in internal rotation so that you can release your muscles and you can move into your back bend. Sometimes I like to start this by grabbing my opposite elbow overhead because I'm really tight in the ribs. And so that gives my ribs a just extra moment. And I have some tightness around the diaphragm. So that gives a little bit extra stretch there. And I spend a few breaths with my hands in one configuration and then a few breaths in the other. So one arm on top and then switching to the other. And I just start to settle here, breathing, finding my way into the pose. If you don't want your arms overhead, just take them out to the side in T or cactus. If your arms are overhead, you might switch now with the other arm on top. And just breathe deeply, feeling that stretch through your lats, around your ribs. Notice your neck, make sure it's supported. Make sure the chin isn't too high, too much higher than your forehead. And if your arms are overhead, you can release them down now and take them out in cactus or T. If you're cool, put on a sweatshirt or bring another blanket over. Big deep breath in and out. You've got a good solid 4 minutes in this pose. Well, 4 minutes is a while, but just know that if you can't get comfortable in this pose, you can bend your knees, have your feet wide on the sticky mat and knock your knees in together. And if that still isn't comfortable, move your blankets underneath your knees and just lie back in Shavasana. So please make sure that you're not being overstimulated with discomfort. That just causes us to rehearse pain, and what we're trying to do in yoga is not bring in more pain, but to find ways out of pain, out of discomfort. And just enjoy all of the back body. So one of your challenges might be, how can I rest back? How can I rest back into the unknown and know that I'm still supported by my habits, by my family, by those things that I've set up around myself that are life-giving? And maybe even, depending on your belief system, but maybe even by spiritual forces. We believe in yoga that there's a bigger force out there that has your best life and mind. And when you align with that, things start to get a little more peaceful. And the aligning has to do with your asana, your seat as it is, your body as it is, your life as it is. So settle deeply into the dark unknown behind you. Again, if at any time this starts to be too much, you start to gently make your way out of it and move into Shavasana. Or you make this pose more comfortable. Deepen your breath. Bring your awareness back into your body as it is. Start to loosen your straps. Start to wiggle fingers and toes. Start to roll off to your side. And as you're ready, gently and carefully make your way up to sitting back to Sukhasana, an easy sitting pose. We'll meet there with hands in prayer and taking a moment here with eyes closed to just notice what has shifted and changed, to notice the feelings in your body, to notice sensation where maybe you didn't feel sensation before, and to give thanks for your ability to come to the practice, for this space and this time, for each other, for our teachers, for our technology. And we take a moment to send a blessing somewhere. Maybe to a mother for Mother's Day, or somebody who mothers you. Or maybe just a blessing towards the unknown. We take a moment to seal that with a breath and an Om together. To all that is you, from all that is me. Namaste. Happy Friday. I'm going to unmute y'all. If there's any questions that you have, you're unmuted. Otherwise, I'll see you the next time I see ya.
Thanks, Cynthia.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Gotta run.
Okay.
See ya tomorrow.
Okie dokie.
Thank you.
You betcha. Have a great day, Pat. Happy weekend.
You too.
Yeah.
Have a wonderful weekend.
Thanks, Tina. You too.
I feel so blessed that we're able to still connect. and do
Oh
this.
my gosh, me too.
It just tingles me all over.
I know. I'm so grateful. Yeah, we had a little talk, me and my partners, and yoga is going to be a long time in coming because I think that it's healthier for you to breathe without a mask at home doing yoga than to come into a studio and breathe with a mask in yoga. So unfortunately, I think we're going to be like this for a while.
Oh, through your magic, you're doing wonderfully and keeping us all healthy.
Thanks.
So
Thanks so
thank
much.
you for thinking.
Yeah, I'm grateful too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah, that was a question that they asked us for what conditions would we be willing to teach under at Cal Poly? And one of them was, would you be willing to teach a class with a mask? And I was like, well, in Pilates is so much about, for me, it's all about so how are you going to feel like you can inhale with that thing, you know?
Right. And you're just breathing your own exhale constantly. I mean, I was listening to this doctor, I was saying in class, I was listening to this doctor talk, and he says, well, here's, one of the awful things is that the more we breathe in a mask, the more we diminish our immune system. We take it off, and now we're exposing ourselves to all this stuff without the immunity that we're supposed to have.
Yeah. Yeah. I see people, like I saw a woman riding her bike with one on, and I was like, I just don't think that's a good idea. Again, you can't really get a good breath.
Yeah, it's not a good idea.
My sister-in-law, she's been walking, and she says, oh, when I go uphill, my mask is so hot. I'm like, take it off.
Unless somebody's within 10 feet of you, there's no reason to have it. Have it here.
Yeah.
And if you see someone you know and you want to chat with them and be close to them, pull it up.
Yeah. So
yeah, I've noticed that too.
Yeah, that's interesting though, because I've been thinking about that and just, like breathing recirculated air or something.
It's one of your ways of releasing toxicity.
Yeah.
You're getting out the stuff that your body doesn't want. Why would you want to take it back in?
Yeah.
And there was another doctor I was listening to. I don't quite understand this yet, but he says, you're breathing your body's expelling a virus. Yeah, so it's almost like you're taking virus back in, whereas the body is trying to expel it and get it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's like I saw Andrew Cuomo on Stephen Colbert last night, and he was saying that, I'm wearing the mask for you, and you should be wearing the mask for me. But